All right. Hey, everybody. You're listening to On the Waterfront with Coach. I'm Marina Hernandez, Coach's daughter, 137779, currently an ID on the night side.
Okay, this is Coach Ed Barreras, 34844, 43 years down the waterfront.
You guys, Dad, wasn't it so nice everyone was commenting on our last post?
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Getting all positive stuff. I mean, it makes you want to keep doing this stuff. Because it's real informative and they're going to get a lot of good knowledge and good information on it.
Totally. Yeah. When Buddy sent us, like, as people are commenting on YouTube. So here's one. I'm just going to read one from @4American. That's what it sounds like. I've worked, so in reference to Yoli. So I've worked with her oldest daughter before. She's awesome. Love hearing all the stories and the history. Keep up the good work. These podcasts are incredible. That's so cool.
That is great.
Thanks, you guys. That's really nice.
Thank you.
We read them. And also, if you have any questions, because I'm realizing we likely have listeners. We do have listeners because my personal friends have asked me, have told me that they listen to the podcast. Mm-hmm. So, and we talk about things on the waterfront that you and I use as just our everyday language down at the waterfront because we've developed it all these years, but some people might not know what something means. So if you have a question, if you're listening and you have a question about what something is, or maybe I can find a picture of a top handler and post it on our Instagram, then I can do that. And it can connect what we're talking about on the podcast to what, like, just giving a little more information.
Yeah. All the feedback will be well taken, and we will try to get all the information for you and put it on Instagram or whatever we have it on.
Yeah. So On the Waterfront Pod is our Instagram.
Okay. On the Waterfront Pod.
Yes. And so on today's show, we have Pete Dever. Pete Dever
is a third-generation longshoreman. I had the privilege of working with his dad. Great guy. We both got in 1982. And Pete's bringing to the table all kinds of good information as far as to get into the union, get involved. His main focus is get involved, and all the stuff is voluntary. So if you have extra time, come out there, and it will help the next generation of longshoremen and to keep this thing going. We have the best job in the world as far as I'm concerned. It's provided all of us with the good living and everything. So if you volunteer, that will really, really help us out, help the union out.
Yep, exactly. Let's get to it real quick. Our intro's quick, so let's get to the interview.
Let's go.
Okay, I've got him rolling. All right.
My name is Pete Dever. Work number is 134611, and I'm currently on the BUTR board.
All right. Thanks for being with us, Pete.
You're welcome.
So how did you get started in longshoring?
So my father, my grandfather, my uncle, great uncles, cousins, when I was growing up, like, the whole family was longshoremen. And when I was a kid, I wanted to be a longshoreman. For career day, I think it was in second grade, I dressed up what I thought was a longshoreman. At the time in the 80s, my dad was wearing a lot of flannel, so I thought all longshoremen wore flannel. So I wore a flannel, some blue jeans. But when I got to high school, I got a job working for a State Farm agent. Bob Wall was his name. And when I worked there, we had all walks of life coming in, people from PV, people from Manhattan Beach, the rich areas. And I saw people with nicer cars, I grew up in Wilmington, and my mom's family's from Wilmington, my dad's family's from Pedro. But I saw people with three-piece suits, nice cars, cell phones, which weren't a thing back then.
Right.
And at that time, I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. I want to be a professional. I want to be a white-collar worker. And I was going to college at the time, and I was taking business classes. I minored in marketing. And as I was going down that path, working at State Farm, I started realizing that my morals didn't align with the business world. I remember specifically we had one class, we had a project, we had to talk about businesses having some issues with a budget, what should we do to change the budget? And one guy's first knee-jerk reaction was, I will lay off 10% of the workers. And people are like, oh yeah, that's the budget, that'll fix it. And I was thinking, how's that your first reaction, you know? Like there's all kinds of things we can cut.
Of all things.
Yeah.
That's your first.
And they're looking at it like, oh, the numbers say this, but like, but those aren't numbers, those are people, you know?
Right.
Like
Yep.
that's some kid like not getting braces, or maybe someone doesn't make their rent. And as I was taking more business class, I realized I'm not sure that the business world is cut out for me. And at the same time, I was going to college, I lived with my parents, and we get the dispatcher sent to, you know, my dad's house once a month. And I was reading the dispatcher, and I was reading about the ILWU, and seeing that they were pretty progressive, that the union wasn't just looking out for themselves, that they were looking out for other workers. I was reading about, at the time, there was like a strike in Ecuador for bananas, and the ILWU was supporting workers in South America. And I read about how, like during apartheid, they boycotted South African goods coming in. Like there was a social conscience with this union. And I really admired the fact that my father was working for this organization that was not only looking out for themselves, but they were looking out for other workers around the world. And so that kind of got me excited again about the ILWU. And I graduated May 2004. And I think it was August 2004 is when they had the lottery. And my dad offered me the interest card, but he didn't want me to take it. Because I had just graduated college. I was working for State Farm. My dad's like, listen, you have an opportunity here. I never went to college. He goes, I always wish I did. He goes, you did. He goes, you're gonna make a lot more money in this world than you will longshoring. At the time, my dad was a crane operator, but my boss was making more money than my dad was. And he's like, but if you want the card, here it is. But he goes, but I think you should pursue, you know, your degree. And I thought that working outdoors and working for an organization that was more concerned about, you know, human rights or social justice was something that I wanted to pursue, and that's how I got into it.
Oh, cool. Okay. What college were you going to?
Dominguez Hills.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have a
Go Toros.
Right.
Well, go Beach, because I went to Cal State Long Beach, and I have a similar story because I was going to Cal State Long Beach to be a teacher when I got my interest card and I was picked, because it was the same time. I think you said 2004, and then did you start 2005?
Yeah, my first day was 4th of July, 2005, when the fireworks are going off. I worked the night shift on 4th of July.
I used to, that's a casual job right there, because I always used to work the 4th of July, and it was cool. Like I remember working, at the end of the world, like Costco, and it was beautiful. All holidays, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful on the 4th of July working.
Yeah, no, it was cool because I was at Merce, so you could see like Pedro. I saw the fireworks,
cool.
so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You're flanked by, I was a Toro. I graduated from Dominguez
I'm
Hills.
flanked by the Taurus.
You're flanked by the Toro.
What year did you graduate?
1976.
And you also have your teaching credentials.
Yes. I taught at Banning for quite a few years. Yeah, so, but Pete's there. He's right on line. That apple didn't fall from the tree because I worked with his dad.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we got in together in 1982, so he's been brought up the right direction. I'm glad that you pursued us instead of State Farm.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think of that State Farm commercial, like the little tagline.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Oh, there you go. Like for my son says, like a good neighbor, stay over there. I love that part of it. Okay, so then you quit, or were you also concurrently working at State Farm and then casually? You must have been doing both, because
So they did the lottery in August of 2004, and my number wasn't that good. I was 7,626 in the lottery.
how do you remember that? Because
Numbers. I'm
He's
good
a
with numbers.
businessman.
I guess so, yeah. Because I'm like, I don't know, but okay, go on.
And my dad came home from the Class A meeting, and he goes, he called me up because I was living in an apartment. And he goes, I'm sorry, but you didn't make the cut. Because at the time they said 2,000 casuals, and I was 7,000. He goes, I'm sorry you didn't make the cut. And I was like, well.
Yeah.
So I was working through State Farm, and in the springtime was when I got a letter saying that, come on down for the UTR or whatever it was. The lashing was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what I was thinking? Because I just, I don't like to take lash, but I didn't want to flop because I had rolled over and I didn't want to flop. So I recently took a lash. And I remember during our test, we had to do 3 highs, but I don't know if they do 3 highs, 3 high bars anymore. I think there's like platforms and then everything's 1 high.
Well, the ships are different.
The ships are different, right? A lot different.
Right.
Because those 3 highs, do you remember taking the test?
But still inshore offshore, they still do C bars inshore offshore.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get nervous when I get close to the inshore offshore. I feel like I'm just gonna be like, whoop, and then just fall over the side.
Yeah, we did that as casuals.
The what?
Dropped them in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like I'm going to go along with it. I heard somebody did. There's a woman, they call her Splash or something, that she went.
There's a few guys.
There's a few guys that
Yeah.
have gone down there, right? Right.
And you could survive. I feel like I don't know. I guess you survive.
Yeah.
That's wild. That's a wild part. Imagine that. You're like at work and then all of a sudden you're like in the ocean.
It happens to everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't have to be a casual. A man, B man.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a couple guys falling, but
You've seen it?
yeah. You just throw him the life ring, and then we get him. That's it.
And then he goes back to work or he goes home?
No. Then he goes back. Then he goes home.
Oh, okay. I'll stop being wet. Okay, so then as a casual, you were working at State Farm and then working as a casual, and then how long? Because you beat me. You said that you were what?
4616.
Okay, I was T4638. It took me 17 years. I think you said it took you a lot less.
A little over 10.
So
I started July 4th, 2005, and I was registered in October 2015.
So you just pumped. You didn't like take any time off.
In 2006, it was really, really busy. I did take time off because I was kind of a new casual. But the last 3 years, I think I went 3 years straight without flopping.
Wow.
It was a grind. It was a grind.
For sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that because there's people that they sacrifice. You're making a huge sacrifice. You don't go to birthday parties. You miss a ton of things, but
Like in the last year, in 2015, there was a list that came out in January, and when the list came out, I just kept pumping. And when the new official list came out, I think it was July, I had jumped a ton of people. So everyone got lackadaisical. They saw their list, they're like, "Oh, I'm in," and then people drop behind.
Yeah. That's a good lesson for the casuals that are right now pumping, because during that COVID time, they were getting up there in hours and then it kind of slowed down. So just, hey, you'll get one day here or there, but don't get past.
Yeah, my father told me when that list came out, he goes, "Don't believe the list." He goes, "Do not stop working." So I just kept pumping until the very bitter end.
Yeah. So you were the first group that got
Second.
Second group that got
Yeah, there was
hired.
a September, October, November, December, and then there was a gap, and they brought in one more group.
Oh, okay. So did you say, you're a B-man right now? You're
BUTR.
BUTR. Okay.
How much longer do you have to stay on that? board?
October.
In October.
October, I'll be off the board, yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. So what board are you on? Sorry.
BUTR.
Okay, so you said that you don't really take container jobs.
Correct.
Okay, tell me about that.
So when I was a casual, obviously we did all kinds of container work. We did lashing, hatch clerks, UTRs. And my grandfather, he was a longshoreman, did 33 years, registered in 57. He would talk about the docks all the time. But a lot of stuff he was talking about I couldn't relate to because I was in the container world as a casual.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff he did was general or was handheld cargo. So the minute I had an opportunity to pick my jobs, I just tried to try everything. Because he told me, he said, take every job there is. He goes, don't let anyone tell you there's a bad job out there. He goes, find out for yourself. Some guys are going to like a job, tell you it's bad because they don't want you to take it. So I took his advice, and I damn near took every job there is to take down there.
Did your grandfather give me that advice?
My grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Great advice.
So
Whenever-
I tell everyone, take every job except the shovel at D32. That's one. I ignore my grandfather. Don't take it. You're good.
Which one is it?
The shovel job at D32.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that is the worst job I've ever had.
Is that different than Metro? I had Metro shovel on Metro.
Yeah.
That to me was my worst.
I know. Well, my first year as ID, I took Metro all the time. I liked shoveling.
Oh, you like it?
Mm-hmm. So my first year, I took a lot of shoveling at Metro. And I think it was like 2022 when work was really busy. I was on the executive board, and they were doing a new operation at D32. And I figured, well, as a member of the executive board, it's important that we know what's going on in the harbor. So I picked up the job one day, and it was myself, and it was, I think, 4 travelers. And I was the only person out of 13 that picked it up. And the operation was they'd have multiple ships come in, and there's a conveyor belt system, but they wouldn't clean the conveyor belt. They do it like once a month or once every, 5 or 6 weeks. And when you walked in, there was at least a foot of cement the entire route of the conveyor belt. And this is in August, and it's 80 to something degrees. And up there, it's outside. It's an elevated conveyor belt. It's a steel contraption, so that it's just radiating heat. And on the sides, there's like rubber curtains. And as the ship unloader moves back and forth, the rubber curtain kicks up and it slides back and forth. And while we're up there, we can't see anything. So you would take like a block of wood to try to push out the rubber curtain to let light in so you can see what you're doing. But we shoveled for 2 hours straight, did not stop. And then they told us to stop because we filled up the conveyor belt. And they'd run their conveyor belt. We had a 16-minute break, and the conveyor belt was empty. And they were like, all right, back to shoveling.
What?
Now, at Metro, I think the worst I ever had is maybe 45 minutes in a row of shoveling, just straight shoveling. 2 hours we shoveled, 16-minute break, right back at it.
So you were shoveling onto the conveyor belt?
So from the floor, you have to pick it up and dump it on the conveyor belt. And with cement, it's not like Coke. It's much more different. You have to be very gentle because if you're too hard, it'll go right off the conveyor belt and fall on the other side.
Oh,
and you did nothing at all at that point. So you had to be real gentle when you put it on the conveyor belt.
Yeah, I've been in there in the tubes with the conveyor belt, and there's like sensitive, I don't know, it seems like rubber on the side, but if you tap it, the conveyor belt stops production for however many times, and they have to reset it. So it's like your workspace is not very big. I don't know. It's not a comfortable place to be.
Well, with the cement, because you have to wear a full-on respirator with the cement. So we had to be completely suited up, and I remember we had to wear rubber gloves. So the entire time you're just pouring sweat because your body can't breathe. But when we had that it was 16-minute break. When we had the 16-minute break, I remember I took my glove off, and it looked like you dumped a cup of water. And I think I lost 4 pounds that day. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And the travelers I was working with, they're from Local 10. They didn't want to say anything. And I was shoveling, and they didn't say anything. So I'm like, I'm not going to be a wuss in front of these guys. So I just kept pumping. I'm like, man, how can these guys keep going? And when we had our lunch, they were asking me, like, how could you keep going? I'm like, I was only going because you were going. And I ended up calling the BA. I was like, this is nuts.
Local 10, that was San Francisco guys.
San Francisco, yeah.
Yeah.
And well, because it's tagged as a sweeper, so they thought, oh, we're emptying trash cans. And they didn't know. It was.
Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah, it was like 80-something degrees. Well, it's 80-something degrees outside, but in that
Oh, yeah.
in that conveyor belt, I don't know what the temperature was.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the cement that spills over the side. Then you're scooping it and putting it back on the conveyor belt too.
Yeah, there's no ship
Is it
there.
is that a discharge, or is it going out or coming in?
It's coming in.
It's
so they're,
coming
they're,
in.
They're
Okay.
sucking off the ship, but there was no ship at the time. So they'd have a few ships. There'd be a ton of cement. And then when there's no ship, they would just clean up the floor. And they had to get a certain tonnage. Once they got the tonnage, they were done. But we had to come back from lunch. We had to shovel after lunch. It was a beatdown.
Okay, so
But no one wanted to chicken out first, so we just all kept pumping. But it was, because my grandfather back in the day, he was like doing pick and shovel gangs. And he told me you did 20 minutes picking, 20 minutes shoveling, 20 minutes off. Okay, so you got a 20-minute break every hour. And I'm like, how are we working more than they were in the 50s, you know? Like, we have like the best working conditions on the coast. We're working harder than my grandfather's. It's crazy. Yeah, 2 hours straight. And we got a 60-minute break.
Yeah, that is tough. That was tough.
yeah, that was tough.
But I was able to go back to the executive board, and I was able to tell the LR reps, I'm like, this is nuts what they're doing there.
There you go. Yeah.
So now they have like a dedicated shovel gang for that now.
Oh, okay, and they've worked out their own system. I'm sure.
I don't know what they're doing, but I know, because one of the issues is you have to wear a respirator, and then like technically I can't be there because you can't have a beard and wear a
Right.
respirator. And they were just getting random people out of the hall, so now you have to be fitted. So there's a certain group that's fitted, and they're allowed to take that job.
Oh, okay.
If you're a guy, grow a beard.
Yeah.
Stay off that job.
Yeah, because I don't see that job on the board.
Now they're dispatched over the phone. It's phone dispatch for them.
Oh, okay, because it's like
Because you have to be fitted, yeah.
Got it.
Because per OSHA, like, you're not supposed to have a random person out of the hall that's not fitted go out there.
Oh, okay.
Because cement contains silica, which is really bad for your lungs. So you really should be sealed properly.
Well, that's like is it coal that comes in through Metro?
So Metro does do coal, and they also do petroleum coke, which is one of their biggest products.
Is that
so
the
when they
fluorescent color?
No, petroleum coke looks like coal.
Oh,
So
okay.
when they refine oil into jet fuel or gasoline, the byproduct is what's called petroleum coke, and it looks like coal. And that comes from the refineries. They bring it by truck.
Yeah, and that's wild because you just have maybe like an N94 mask, maybe, but it's and you're breathing in. It just feels.
Yeah, those jobs are horrible.
Those jobs are that's a rough job.
Yeah. Some guys like it because they get paid
Yeah.
more money.
You work through lunch pretty much every operation, so you get extra hours.
Yeah, you get an extra hour. So that's the reason some guys take that job.
As I did, we're pretty much getting 10 hours every time because we work through lunch
Right.
consistently.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what other jobs? So tell me more. So that was a job that you said do not take.
Yeah, that one I don't that one you don't need to try to find out it's not a good job.
Okay,
Yeah,
so.
but other than that, every other job I think you should always try it.
And then you went your grandfather's route, and maybe your dad. Well, you did say your dad was a crane operator, but you went your grandfather's route and work now just with not containers, but
Yeah. So I do
bulk cargo. Is that what it's
I
called?
do bulk cargo. So if there's a cement ship or iron ore or salt, I'll try to take that. I also do general cargo like steel, fruit. I work lumber, cruise ships, passengers.
Do you work in the? What do you do? What do you usually do down there?
It just kind of depends. I mean, I do prefer the lift. I like driving machines, especially like if we have salt. I love the bulldozer. So I'll take payloaders, especially on a clean out. So if there's a cement ship and we have to clean out the end, they put the payloader inside the ship. That's my go-to is operating a machine.
Oh, cool.
But
The
I also
cement,
do-
I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead.
the cement jobs, they're what, every 6 months they come in, or, right?
There's two operations. So there's one over at D32, which we don't do the clean out. So they only suck so much, and then it goes to a different port. And then over at Long Beach, that'd be
208?
208.
Right,
They do a clean out. So they will put a payloader in there, and they'll have shovelers ordered to
right.
clean out.
That
But
used to be Lucky Cement. I think they call it Lucky, well, I don't know what it's called now, Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi Cement,
Mitsubishi, but when I worked there, it was Lucky Cement. Yeah, so I know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
You did that job, Dad?
Yeah, I did them all. Yeah, so when you're talking about that, I was just shaking,
Yeah.
because I know what he went through. Yeah, it's not
a pretty job.
no, it's not a good job.
I'm going to ask you that. Are you currently on the e-board?
No, not right now.
Okay. Do you know anything about this? I went to go sign up for. It's May. It's the month of May, so I went to go sign up for classes, or to be trained for things. And they said that they're not going to train any B-men for top handlers this time around. Do you know anything about that?
I do not.
Oh, okay. I was
I,
like, oh,
I
that's.
went to sign up for a top handler, and I changed my mind. So with the new changes, because they have make whole for the CY board,
What's make whole?
if you cannot get a top and you're on the board for the top handler, it's the CY board. If you can't get a top that day, any other job you take, you'll get the top pay. Skill rate 310 hours. But now there's a commitment. You have to do 3 years. So I'm about to get off the board. So if I sign up, I'll go straight from the BUTR board to the CY board for at least 2.5 years. So for me, after 20 years,
Right.
I don't want to add any more time. So I was going to sign up, but they told me that, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. A lot of guys are doing that. They're not signing up because of that.
Because the old way it used to be 60 days. You had to be on the board for 60 days, which I don't have a problem with that. But another 2.5 years, almost 3 years, I don't want to do that.
I wonder what why they made that change.
Because they have guaranteed make whole. They're guaranteed basically income Monday through Friday.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
There's crane operators right now that if they can't get out, they'll go with Ernie on the passenger, but they get paid 10 hours. They get their crane pay
Wow. That's
They get their
and they get their tips.
and the tips. Yeah, and the tips.
Wow, that's the job right there.
But like you just said, that you're tied into that job. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they also mentioned, well, you don't have to take a top. You can take another job, but you're one day only on everything, as long as you're on that board. So I figured I'm enjoying my career. I'll just stick to what I'm doing.
right.
Okay. Yeah, so you weighed the options. I feel like I just sign up for things and I'm just like, we'll just see what happens.
Well, now that I know what the current requirements are, I would have signed up 3 years ago, because while you're on the BUTR, you can't leave the BUTR. So your 3 years would have been complete by the time you're off the board. So anyone that's out there that's on the BUTR that has some years to go, sign up now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
That's good to know. Good
Yes,
information.
Good information.
Right.
Okay, so so you work with bulk cargo mostly.
Yeah, break bulk and bulk, yeah. So break bulk is anything you move piece by piece, and bulk is anything that's just continuous, like it pours in, like Metro, that's a bulk job, cement, salt.
Did you ever join a gang? Were you in a gang or anything?
No. I do pick up some gang work.
Yeah.
So I do work in the hold, and I work on the dock as well. My uncle was in the docking. He was the docking leader of 222. He got in with you, Larry Suarez.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I know Larry.
5099.
Right.
And when he got close to retirement, I was picking up his gang every job, because I figured, well, he's going to be gone forever, so might as well get as much experience as you can. So I did a lot of work with the docking.
Yeah, you learn a lot when you're in a gang. You learn how to drive winches, and you learn a lot down in that gang, down in the hole.
Were you in a gang, Dad?
Yeah,
You were?
gang 101. Gang 101.
Was it with Uncle Bobby? Was in
With
that?
Uncle Bobby. Yeah. Uncle Bobby and Tire City Eddie, John Eberhardt, Herrera. Had some great guys that worked down. They showed me a lot. When you were down there in the hole, you learn a lot with down there. You know, you don't have to have a broom down there. Pete probably know. You got a broom. What do? You get a crowbar. You find a 2x4. You stab it, and that's it. You got to keep when you're down working that in the hole. You got to make sure everything's clean, because when the lifts are running down there, if you have a piece of dunnage, you know, I've seen them fly all over the place. Yeah. Then you're cutting wires and everything.
Yeah.
Had a bad accident. I didn't have a bad accident. I was working with my brother. We're in the hole, and we're cutting the wires. There were coils. So we're cutting wires. So I knew I cut this one wire. I knew I'd cut it. But my brother was on the other side, and I didn't see him. So I grabbed the wire, and I pulled on it. And nothing happened. I go, I know I did it. So I pulled hard, and my brother was standing on it. He fell down, broke his leg. Yeah, broke his leg.
And he climbed out of the wing.
He climbed out of the hatch with a broken leg. He didn't want to go out in a basket. Yeah, so, you know, you got to be real careful down. I'm sure you have some stories.
I busted my knee on
there you go.
a salt job, and it was a finish up. I was the last shot. I volunteered. I doubled back. I never double back, but I got a phone call. There's a bunch of dozers hanging, so I went down and picked one up, and it was me and a bunch of nights at IDs. And then once they found out I could drive, they had me do 2 hatches, and they let the IDs go home. And so I was there to the bitter end. We had finished it. I had to hook up the bulldozer to fly it out. And as I was walking on the track to hook it up, I fell, smacked my knee. And as soon as I hit it, as soon as I felt it, I'm like, I'm going to the hospital. So I was bleeding out, you know, I was bleeding. And then I started laughing because I realized I got to climb 60 feet up on this ladder to get out now.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, see, he climbed out of the hatch, too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been to workers' comp twice. I got hurt on the lumber barge, sprained my ankles off for a couple months.
Same thing, you tripped?
On the lumber barge, there was a piece of metal sticking up I didn't see, and I jumped off the pile of lumber, and it came down right on the piece of metal and twisted my ankle.
Oh, ouch.
And then they had to figure out how to get me down because I was on top of the lumber, and they weren't prepared for that. So I was up there for about an hour before they figured out how to get me down.
How'd they get you down?
They ended up grabbing the gangway. They used a lift, and they tried to have it at an angle, and they stabled it with the lift. Well, first the boss told me to climb down. I'm like, climb down? I can't stand. How am I going to climb down a ladder? But I was up there for an hour, yeah. My ankle all swelled up, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, down there you find ways to get guys out. I mean,
Yeah.
you figure it out.
You figure, yeah.
You figure it out. You gotta get that man out of there.
So, as far as you kind of went the opposite of me, because I am not really involved in the union at all, and I feel like I would like to be. You did the opposite. You are fully involved, I'll say, and you can correct me, fully involved. You've been in many committees. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my grandfather, he was involved in the union, and especially when he retired, he was really involved as a pensioner. And I would go with him to the Labor Day parades every year when I was, not every year, but starting probably about 2007, I started going to Labor Day parades with him as a casual. And when I got registered, I had a schedule I could, finally set up. I would take off the first Wednesday of the month because that's the pensioner meeting. So I would take my grandfather to the pensioner meeting. But I remember the day I got my letter, I went to my grandparents' house right here in Wilmington, and I said, finally made it. Been over 10 years. And he said, congratulations. He goes, but now you got to take care of the union because the union takes care of my grandma and I. And he goes, your parents, at the time my dad's retired, he goes, your parents are on the pension, we're on the pension, and he goes, it's up to you to take care of the system, to take care of us. He goes, get involved, go to your meetings, run for office. And that was right after congratulations. He's like, now you have a job to do. So I took it to heart. So right away, I ran as soon as I could, and I got involved right away.
How did you run right away? Like what?
Well, no, not right away. Right away, I was ID. But when I got to Class A, then I started running for stuff.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. You just were like signed up to run for something?
I just grabbed paperwork, and I ran.
You're voted in by the members for that?
Voted in. Yeah. So I first got the E-board. I didn't make the cut. I think it was like 3 people out from the cut. And then when when the fall elections came up, there was 3 people that got positions, so they got bumped up. So I took over their spot halfway through the year. And it took me probably 6 months to figure out the dynamics of the board. You know, I didn't know when to talk. I didn't know when to do a motion. So you just kind of like watch, you know, starting absorbing like how it works, how to be efficient. Because if you have a good idea, it's not going to go anywhere. You have to learn how to make a motion and how to execute that. Because there's a lot of good ideas out there, but it won't go anywhere unless a motion's made, and then they're required to fill out that motion to make sure it's seen through. And then I joined the membership committee. That was during 2022. That was a really busy year. So the membership committee, we had brand new casuals coming to the industry, and every Wednesday we had to go down to the PMA Training Center to give a speech about calling the BA, what time you start, how to get somewhere, you know, how to line up as a casual. And we had registrations. I think we had like 5 groups that year of new casuals coming in. What year did you come in?
2000. See, I'm bad with like years, numbers, dates. I don't know. So I'm in my 3rd year. So 2020.
So 2022. So I was on the membership.
February 2022.
Okay, so I think that was before I started. I started in like April 2022. But yeah, we kept bringing in groups, so we had to go down and talk to the new registered Class Bs, trying to get them lined up, how dispatch works, how the rules work. And then we had promotions when people were leaving. We had elevations where people were going from Class B to Class A. And then we had promotions, people going from the BUTR board to any low board. So there was a lot of transactions. So it was a really busy year in 2022.
So that's the role of the membership committee, is to like facilitate all that.
They used to be called the registration committee back in the day. And they would basically interview people coming in. But now they're every part of the process, like joining the industry as a casual, going from casual to Class B, from Class B to Class A, from Class A to your lower board. They also deal with the LRCs. When casuals or IDs get in trouble, you're there to be kind of a support, maybe kind of like a lawyer to help them out with a little bit of defense. Especially in 2022, there was casuals that lost their casual card and they're trying to get back in. And on the first Friday of the month is when the meeting is. And if you lost your card, they would show up on the first Friday and they would try to make an appeal to get back in. Most of them had like a doctor's note trying to explain why they were off for so long.
Is that still going right now?
That still goes on. But
that's great. That's good to know.
I don't think it, because in 2022, because work was so busy, it was all over the news, people started coming out of the woodwork.
Right.
You know, we had people that had worked in 12 years and like, oh, I have a doctor's note for 12 years, you know? So a lot of them got rejected, you know, and you would see fake notes too. So there's a lot of fake notes because once they heard people working, 5 days a week, they're like, oh, I want to go do that again. Right. So we had a lot of that. But as far as it happening now, I'm not sure because work is slow. I'm not sure if they're getting anyone showing up trying to get back in. But in 2022, every Friday, the lobby of Local 13 was full of casuals trying to get back in.
Pete, now what about the mentor program? You know, when a COD comes in, are you involved with that too? Or
I signed up, but they never called me.
Okay.
But, so the last registration group was like 2007.
Okay.
And they went 8.5 years without registering any groups in the casual hall. So there was just like this big vacuum. And the only Class Bs they had during those 8.5 years were basically like CODs coming in, child deceased. So when I got registered, checking in on the board, there'd only be like 80 of us in the beginning because they started every month, there was more Class Bs coming in. But in the beginning, there was very few of us. And the only old IDs were just all CODs. And all of them had less hours than we did, because we had thousands of hours. So I believe they started the COD program like right before I got in or right when I got in. Because they started asking us because of, 10 years at casualing, like we know where everything is or how the system works.
Exactly.
They were asking us to help out. Because I think like right before us, if you're brand new to the system and then this guy's brand new to the system, you have a year, you got a year, but you really don't have the knowledge to really help them out through the, to wade through the waters. So at least, I don't know if it started when I first got registered, but they really beefed up the program when our group came in.
They beefed up the COD program.
Yeah, because we had a bunch of experienced casuals coming in and then we were able to help out.
Right.
So I did sign up, but they never did call me.
Yeah, because the mentor program, it's really a good program. They come in, they sign up, hey, this is so-and-so, and can you put me on the same crane with them or UTR with them or talk signal, same break and everything. And then, obviously the foreman or whoever's there are going to help them out. But the mentor program, I think it's a great for the industry, the mentor program.
Yeah, well, it has to be intimidating coming in as a young person into an industry with a bunch of I'm old now, right? I'm not young anymore. But it's got to be intimidating. And I think it's a great system having the mentor program.
Right. When I got in, here, do this. And, they never trained with your dad. Here, do this and do that. They never trained you. You just learned on the job.
Well, my first job was at Maersk, 4th of July, and I had a hatch clerk, my very first job. And I remember I showed up, and I was the very last person on my letter to get out. So I was the very last eye, and then everyone behind me was old-time veterano casuals, right? Mm-hmm. So I got lumped with them. And the clerk, he gave me a clipboard, and he had it highlighted, and he goes, all right, if you see it highlighted blue, you're going to send them to Charlie. If you see it green, you're going to send them to David. And if you see it pink, you're going to send them to Mary. He goes, you got it? I'm like, yeah. Blue goes to Charlie, green goes to David, and pink goes to Mary. He goes, yeah, you have any questions? I'm like, yeah, how do they know how to find Charlie? Do they know what he looks like?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I was like, are Charlie and Mary, are they in a machine out there? And he looked at me like I was joking. I'm like, yeah, are they in a machine? Does everyone know who they are?
That's so true.
That's a good one.
That is a good one because it's so true.
And he just snatched her out of my hand, the clipboard. He goes, you sit there. And then I sat down. He gave everyone else their assignments. He walked up. He goes, you're the relief. I'm like, what's the relief? He goes, you know how lucky you are? And I was, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Because it's so true. It's like that. People are using bobtail to the hook. And me and our crew were like, what the hell is bobtail? We're like, what does that mean? So you're expected just to know what these terms are. It's wild.
It was about 3 years ago when a clerk told a casual to take the can to lunch, and he tried to drive out the gate with a container.
What?
That was over at Yangming, 126. You remember that?
I think I do remember that.
The security had to stop him. He tried to drive out down. He tried to go on John Gibson Boulevard with a container. He was going to take it to Wiener Schnitzel. I don't know where he was going.
Oh my God!
But he literally took the container to lunch.
Yeah, you got to be very specific with the things you say. Remember the hatch clerks were you had that little desk and you were under the hook.
Yeah, they had the magnets. They're always throwing the magnets.
Yeah, that was a cool job. They only have it at Trade Pack, I think now is
in China.
Oh, China has it?
For discharge only.
Got it. Okay, I don't ever go to China. That's a job that used to be around.
Yeah, that
was a good job. Same with swing. I feel like we did a lot of swing because they didn't have a 4-and-4. It was like a full. All we did as casuals was swing because it was.
Well, I remember,
I don't know, hour break,
the first year, 2005, it was all split breaks. Everything was split breaks. UTRs, swing was all split breaks. Unless you were lucky enough with swing to have an A-book or ID, then you got a longer break. But otherwise, if it was 4 casuals, split breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, a lot of things have changed.
Well, we need more guys like you in the industry because, you're giving us all good information out. Do you have any ambition to run for office or vice president or president or BA?
Okay, so when I was ID for about 2 years, I took chassis pits. I chased heavy lifts. And then when I had downtime, a lot of places I didn't have reception. I would just sit there and read the contract or the safety code.
That's what I'm talking about. Right.
I read the safety code 6 times cover to cover. So even as a Class B, I knew the code pretty well. And then I thought, you know what, this is what I want to get into. So I did some ride-alongs with the BA. And I'm not sure that maybe that's the route for me.
Okay.
I saw a lot of interpersonal problems between member to member, and that part I wasn't prepared for. But as far as hammering a company, that was what really turned me on to the idea. Fighting for the union, doing the good fight, pressing the company, because I knew the rules, pretty well. But seeing the member to member issues, I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. So
right.
Maybe, but as of right now, I'm just trying to do stuff behind the scenes, volunteer.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, so but aside from the membership committee, what are you currently volunteering on other committees?
So currently I'm on the publicity committee. So one of the things we try to do is any kind of bulletin that goes out, we try to promote on social media. So our Instagram page is ILWU.publicity. And we realized like they put out a bulletin, but so many members don't read the bulletin. So social media actually turns out to be pretty effective. We had some events, people showed up just because they saw it on Instagram. So we're pushing that. We just started a YouTube page because we realized if you're on Instagram, you want to have like a quick little video because the people's attention span is so small. But anyone that has more attention, well, we're like, all right, well, now you can go to YouTube if you want to watch like a 3-minute video. So that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
And there's like coming up, Memorial Day is coming up. And we have to reiterate to people that if you had less than, well, actually, Memorial Day is different. So for a normal holiday, like if you have like a stop work day, like Labor Day or Thanksgiving or Christmas, if you have less than 1,300 hours, on a stop work holiday, everyone has to pump out 2 days to get paid for the holiday.
Right.
And then if it's a regular working holiday, such as a Memorial Day, if you have over 1,300, you don't have to work about it. You're going to get paid for the holiday no matter what. But if you have less than 1,300, if you have between 800 and 1,300 hours, you have to still work 2 days to get paid for the holiday. So we have to keep reminding people for like Memorial Day, you got to work 2 days if you have less than 1,300 hours last year to get paid. Or a lot of people forget, just file for vacation. Because there's people that take off and then they don't get paid for the holiday because they never officially filed for vacation. And there's so many members that don't either remember that or don't even realize that.
Right.
And that's free money you're giving up.
That's right.
And that is something that you never, my personal belief is you never earned that. The generations before earned that holiday for us, you know? Someone fought and negotiated years ago to have the holiday, so don't flippantly give it away, you know?
Great advice. Great advice.
Yep. Dad, I'm going to show you some hooks that Pete brought in, and let's
Okay.
see if you can. And if you're okay, so then I would encourage people at this point to look. Well, not now, but I think I'm going to post it on Instagram because Pete, you had a good point that some people are just listening to this and not looking at the item. So if you're watching on YouTube, then I will display it and you can see it, or you can go on our Instagram. Buddy, what is it? On the Waterfront Pod. Okay, on the Waterfront Pod, and I'm doing my best. Oh, okay. Anyway,
Hooks are not being used now, but go ahead.
they are not, but let's see if you know what these hooks are. Okay. Oh, where's the box?
Are these your grandfathers?
Two of them are grandfathers.
Okay, Dad. Do you know? Oh, don't drop it. Do you know what hook that is? It's got a long shaft. And do you know what that's called or what it's used for?
I don't know what it's called.
Have you seen one before?
Yes, I've seen them before.
Okay, Pete.
That's a Jap hook.
Jap hook. Yeah.
And
The only way you can get those is you'd have to find them in the ship left over from Japanese longshoremen.
look at the bottom. It's
Yeah.
got its symbol. You said it means power in the bottom?
That one I had to look up online. It means power.
Wow.
So yeah, the only way you could find it is if you're working the hold and someone left it behind, then you'd snatch it up and
Right.
that'd be your hook now.
And he said that was used like for fish
My
mostly.
grandfather said mostly they'd find them on the frozen fish ships that came from Japan.
Okay.
I guess a lot of times when they're kind of gaffing it, when they'd stab it in the fish and they start loading the fish, if you didn't have a good grip, it would go with the fish, and you're like, well, there went the hook.
That's a cool one, huh?
That's a great one.
Okay. How about this guy?
I would think this would be used for sacks, a sack hook,
That's right.
right?
Yeah, that was from Joe Udavac. He gave me that one.
Yeah. Mine it wasn't a metal one. I had a little wooden one, but yeah, for
Yeah?
sacks. These for sacks.
So it wouldn't tear the sacks? It's like a little fork.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this is not the one you said was a typical long? Okay.
That right there is the typical general cargo hook. That's like the quintessential hook. That's the Molly hook.
Yeah,
That was my grandfather's.
This is a great hook.
Yeah, when I was growing up, my grandfather had hooks in the garage. We had canaries in the backyard, shackles, plate hooks. And as a kid, I didn't realize he was, I don't know, maybe they had legs and they walked to his house, but I didn't realize stuff from the waterfront was at his house until I started working down there. I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen that.
You're like,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this, you said that they sold these at the liquor store.
Yeah, so over, what is that, D in Avalon? There's a liquor store right there across from Maya Restaurant. They used to sell hooks right there. So you can walk right over from the dispatch hall and buy a hook if you needed it. Or if you lost your hook, you can just pick up a new one.
Yeah, about that hall. Was that you worked at that? That was your original?
That was our original hall.
That
yes.
was your original
The
hall.
one I went to. Yeah.
I remember
I've been going to that hall, excuse me, I've been going to that hall since I was about maybe 8 or 9 years old. I used to shine shoes to going down Avalon Boulevard to the different bars, shine shoes, and I'd go to the longshoreman's hall and shine shoes. There was this old guy, forgot I don't know his name, but he would see me walk in, he'd wave at me, I'd go over there. His shoes were polished, right? And he would just say, just dust them off, and he'd give me $1. At that
That's a
time,
lot of money, yeah.
That was a lot of money, $1. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Shiny shoes.
Was he wearing a flannel T-shirt by chance?
Flannel shirt, and they were Frisco jeans. They had Frisco jeans, flannel, and they all wore a white hat.
Everybody wore a white hat then.
The majority of them. I'm sure your grandfather wore a white hat.
I remember my father said even when he got in 82, he said a lot of guys were still wearing the white hats.
A lot of guys were. And Frisco jeans, yeah.
Now, Marina, did you ever go with your dad to the hall?
I was going to say that, Dad. I don't know.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Like, sometimes people bring their kids, like they don't have a babysitter and they bring their kids. I feel like I went with you.
I believe this is a cotton hook.
That is correct.
Yeah.
How could you tell?
The way it's shaped.
Okay.
The way it's shaped. So there are bales of cotton. You come out here and then you just bring them towards you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a cotton hook. I got a couple of these.
You do?
I worked a couple cotton jobs. Your dad and I worked cotton.
Yeah, he said that was his first job as ID was a cotton job.
We worked cotton jobs. Yeah.
That's so cool. Are there still cotton jobs right now?
I haven't seen them.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe that's something we lost, or like an industry that's not around. What's that? Okay, that's our last one.
This is our last one. This one's got me puzzled.
That's a barrel hook.
A barrel hook.
If you did like a drum, so the lip of a barrel is called a chime.
Right.
And you hook that onto the chime and you can pull it.
Right.
So I don't know if you ever.
I worked a barrel job before, but I never had the hook.
So the chime hooks? Like
Yes.
nowadays they do pipes. People call them pipe chimes, but the full name would be a pipe chime hook because chime hooks hook up to the chime of a barrel or a pipe. But that's a handheld. Actually, this one right here was Art Almeida's.
Oh, is that right?
And my grandfather, both my grandparents, my grandmother and my grandfather were born on Terminal Island in 1930. And when my grandfather moved to San Pedro, his first friend he met was Art Almeida over in Barton Hill. And that's Art's hook, his barrel hook.
Art Almeida is a great, great guy. He was also a superintendent.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that?
I heard, yeah.
He was a superintendent and a longshoreman. And he was real active with the union. When I was on the executive board, Al Almeida was on there. So I was there with some heavy hitters. Art Almeida, the Leverages, Salcidos, a lot of guys were on there. But Art Almeida was a great guy.
You said I'm just going to go way back, and then we'll kind of wrap up. You said you're from Wilmington. Where did you grow up in Wilmington?
So over by Jack in the Box, you know where the personal storage is on PCH and Figueroa?
Right.
I grew up right behind the personal storage.
On Figueroa, and there's a personal storage there?
Right. Right.
Yeah, they have the park and ride where they used to have all the food trucks. And then right next to the park and ride is
yeah.
So I grew up behind it as a kid.
Oh, okay. Did
then
you play baseball over there at the JCs?
No, I didn't play baseball there at Jace, but in my neighborhood, every single block had one of those like oil derricks or whatever. So like a couple of them were turned into like bike and BMX little courses. We had jumps and stuff. So yeah, I did a lot of those.
That's cool. Did you go to like Wilmington?
I did go to
Junior High,
Gulf Avenue for a little bit, but I went to high school in Bishop Montgomery over in Torrance.
You're kidding. Give me a high
you went there
five.
too?
Heck yes.
What class were you?
2000.
Oh, I was 98.
Oh, that's crazy. I got to look at my yearbook.
Marina grew up around that area. She grew up on Chandler Street. That's just a few blocks away from where
I was
we
on
grew.
Cruces.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And my grandparents were over here by the Will Hall.
Okay.
So like every meeting, I would just stop off at my grandma's house and just walk over to the Memorial Hall.
That's awesome. I love it. I love Wilmington, Wilmington people that go to Bishop Montgomery. Okay, so lastly, do you have any advice could be new members, could be do you have any advice to share based on your experience?
I would just pass on the same information or advice my grandfather gave. One being, try every job there is. Don't let anyone tell you there's a bad job out there. Well, except for D32, don't do that one. But go out and try every job for yourself. Figure out if it's something you like. And the other advice he gave me is get involved because we're only as good as our membership.
Exactly.
Okay, so on that note, how does one get involved? Where do we sign up for things?
It's as simple as like the next time we have like a toy drive, just show up, volunteer, and you can start talking to people. You can figure out how to run or what committee needs some help. But the simple things like the toy drive or the Thanksgiving, the food giveaway, we do a back to school backpack program every year where we give backpacks to kids at Toberman Neighborhood Center in San Pedro. And I mean, we have it great, right? There's so many negative things that the port does, especially in Wilmington, as a kid. There's the truck traffic, the pollution, all this. There's all these negatives that the port has, but there's really only one positive, and that's the great jobs that the port provides. And if you're one of the lucky ones, you get that job. Not everyone in my neighborhood got to work down on the docks, right? And I believe if you're one of the lucky ones, we really need to give back and help out those that didn't make it, that are still in the neighborhood, that still get the negatives from the port. They're not getting the positives. So it's important for like Local 139463 to give back, to support local charities, sports teams, things like that. So I really believe that our community outreach is important, Let everyone share in the wealth that's being created in this port.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, great advice you gave right now. Great
Thank
advice.
you.
Get involved. It's all volunteer. Pete doesn't get paid for this. It's all volunteer. So if you have some spare time, make yourself available for all these committees and get involved, help the community. That's the name of the game.
And I spoke to, do you know who Uncle Steve is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I spoke to him. He was kind enough to speak to me, and he gave me his email, and I'll put it in our show notes. But he's the person, I think, is the vice president of that committee for like the backpacks
The holiday
and
events.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll put that again in the show notes if anyone's interested. But I think you're saying just show up. Mm-hmm. If you know there's an event, just show up and make yourself handy. And then
the
go from
publicity
there.
committee, we'll put it out there before events, talking about where to call or where to show up. We'll put that out there
Via the Instagram.
via the Instagram, and now the YouTube channel that we're just starting. So through the YouTube channel as well. Yeah.
Okay, what's the Instagram again? And then what's the YouTube channel?
ILWU.publicity. And it will be the same for both.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you, Pete. I really
welcome.
appreciated having you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Did a great job.
Thank
Keep
you.
it up. Keep it
Appreciate
up.
it.
Thank you for listening to On the Waterfront with Coach.
And for more content, you can follow us on our Instagram page, On the Waterfront Pod, and you can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
We'd appreciate if you subscribe and follow.
And thank you lastly to our partners at the Arts and Cultural Alliance for letting us use their beautiful building.
Thank you, Uncle Harry.